Hello and welcome to Engine Adventures Midsize Truck Series. We have 3 videos coming up, and obviously this is the first one. There'll be 2 more. First one covers the high-speed off-road capability of these trucks. Second video will cover the steep hill climb, which talks about traction aids, how the vehicle is able to transfer power to the wheels with traction. And the third one will cover actual vehicle dimensions: approach, breakover, departure, ground clearance, skid plates, those types of things.
Here are the final rankings from all 3 tests combined into one final score.
We'll go ahead and break these down in the separate videos, talk more about how each vehicle got the score that it's got,
and why the ZR2 and Gladiator tied for the win.
Remember that this is how these vehicles performed on this day, or rather the day they were tested, in the weather conditions they were tested in, the road conditions they were tested in. Things are going to vary a little bit. Vehicles will perform differently over different courses. Take it for what it is. This is my opinion. Don't get all upset about it. It's just what it is. Have fun, enjoy it. Off-road, this thing's pretty smooth. So I haven't mounted the camera up there on very many vehicles before, so hopefully it gets a better view. You can see how much it's shaking rather than when it's in my arm. My arm kind of stabilizes it a little bit when I'm holding it, whereas this, you'll get the full shake. This vehicle has pretty low ground clearance, but fully independent suspension. Does help it off-road. I don't see any downhill assist or anything, so you don't get that helping you out much. It's a little steep. The 9-speed transmission is definitely a big improvement over the previous generation. I believe my family car has a 5-speed. It's a Honda Pilot, the 2012, with a 5-speed, and it did struggle a little bit more up here doing the really steep stuff. It actually, on the steepest climb, it wasn't able to do it. Even with all 4 wheels having good traction, from a stop, it just couldn't accelerate up the hill. The 9-speed has a lot lower first gear, and there is a little bit more power involved, which makes it a little bit better. So I mean, the power is still a 3.5 liter engine, but they've updated it, the V6, 3.5 V6. I can pick up the speed a little bit here. Like I said, this car doesn't have the best ground clearance. It doesn't have off-road tires. It's not an off-road vehicle, and it's not a car. Like I said, it's a truck. But as far as mid-size trucks go, this thing is wider. It's super wide and super smooth. There are others. All the other mid-size have solid rear axles, and I believe every single one of them has independent front suspension. So this one has independent all around, which does make it a little bit smoother. It's just not as off-road capable as the others are, but for doing roads like this, think Subaru. So if you're doing roads that a Subaru would do, this thing will do it. It can tow 5,000 pounds, so you can tow your little tiny camp trailer. Maybe the last few miles of your trek are on a dirt road, and you don't have to worry about it. This thing can handle that. If you're doing serious off-roading, check out the Ranger FX4. The ZR2, of course, is a crazy one in the midsize, and then the Tacomas. You have however many variants, the TRD off-road and the TRD Pros that have the crawl control and the multi-terrain select and all that kind of stuff. So this new 9-speed transmission does give you a lot of torque in first gear. It must have a pretty low first gear, and I'm gonna find that ratio. I'm writing a story on this transmission, so I'm gonna get that ratio anyway. But the visibility out of this thing is really pretty good all around, which makes it easy to off-road. It's got small size. You can see over the hood easily. It's just not that hard to drive off-road at all. that one was a hard hit, but it does definitely handle this stuff better than the Rebel did. And we're going roughly the same speed. Alright, anyway, that was, like I said, not a bad ride at all off-road. Not as good as maybe the Land Cruiser or the Tundra TRD Pro. I would say both of those did better than this one, but overall, really not that bad. Well, there goes that. Fell off the truck and ran it over. So no outside footage this time around. So I only had to reverse for a few seconds. During that time, the suction cup mount came loose, fell off the truck, and I ran it over. So now you don't get any exterior footage, but we will be getting some interior drive footage off-road. So off-road at higher speeds. Let me switch the terrain mode back. This thing does okay, but that's 15 miles an hour, and I wouldn't really want to go more than that in like the Tacoma TRD Pro. I could go about 25. In the Frontier, I was around the same as this. So the Frontier Pro 4X, 15-20 miles an hour. We can up it. So now we're going 20, and I feel comfortable doing this at 20 miles an hour. But I wouldn't go too much more in this section. So this one is kind of what my goal is. My goal is 20 miles an hour over this stuff. This one's kind of right at that spot. The Frontier was similar. Other vehicles, the Ram Rebel was a little less. The Tacoma, obviously, TRD Pro was more, at 25-ish miles, up to 30 even miles per hour. So this is kind of right in the middle, and it's adequate, I would say, for the 7,500 pound towing capacity and kind of a stiffer suspension that this one does. Adequate with the off-road high speed. All right, I'm in 4 high. I'm just in the normal drive mode. I'm not going to change it for this because it's not really necessary. It doesn't adjust the suspension, which is what we're testing. And the rear diff is locked, but I'm going to unlock that. And we'll just go ahead and hit drive. You can see the transmission right here. Probably won't be able to see it while we're driving, but let's get into it. So again, the goal is 20 miles an hour if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, and we're at 20. So not bad. I was expecting that to be a little bit worse. So about 23, 24 so far. Really impressed. I usually have to slow down quite a bit right there, but I slowed down to 20 and 25. Yeah, this is pretty darn good. They make the body so thin now. I can see the camera I have mounted on to show you the wheel, that it is wobbling quite a bit, so hopefully you get good footage there. But overall, I'm quite impressed with that. Here we are in the high-speed off-road section, and I've driven it a couple times now just to see. We're about 18 miles an hour, and I've noticed with the sway bar disconnected. That was at 15 miles an hour when we bottomed out on that bump. And that's with it connected. So with the sway bar disconnected, it actually seems to wander quite a bit more. So I was thinking it would be a smoother ride with the sway bar disconnected, and it might be a little bit smoother, but it engages at like 18 miles an hour anyway, so you kind of lose it quick. But it wanders a lot without it connected. So here we are with it connected, and there are sections, it kind of depends on how abrupt the bumps are, which is really weird because this has a lot of wheel travel, but it bottoms out really pretty fast over not excessively large bumps. So there are sections, of course, where you can hit 20, but I would give this a lower rating. It's better than the Wrangler for sure, and I think that has a lot to do with the wheelbase. Maybe longer vehicles are more stable, but it's still not as good as like the TRD Pro. So what I would love to see or drive is the Mojave version, because it is designed for doing this. Let's get the high speed going. See how these DSSV shocks work. We're at 20 miles an hour. I've been really tense, but the truck's smooth as can be. No bottoming out. I keep thinking it's gonna bottom out. We're at like 25. Somehow that didn't bottom out. 23 miles an hour. Wow. So these shocks definitely doing their work. Front end came off the ground. I mean, we're close to 30 miles an hour. Don't get me wrong, it's jostling me. It's tossing me around the truck a little bit, but the truck itself, so smooth. Can't believe we didn't lose our camera on the outside. But man, this thing's just eating up the bumps. Some nice person stacked rocks on there so that when you're coming around that corner, you can see it better. We'll keep going just because this thing's doing so well. Ooh, big bump. Wow, this truck handles it. So those were pretty rough bumps there. You can probably tell by how much I'm shaking the camera, even though it does have the stabilization on. But yeah, and you hear the keys smacking as they bounce around. But the suspension, I never felt it bottom out hard, not one time. So that's really impressive. And we did lose the rear camera finally, so we'll call it quits there. We're in four-wheel drive auto. I did turn off traction control, stability control. Not that it matters for this in the high speed. Let's get to it. We're at 20 miles an hour. Seems a little much for this truck. Oh. Okay, I'm going to change it so I can see my speed a little bit better. There we are. Okay, makes it a little easier for these, but yeah, 20 miles an hour, this thing's, I mean, it's still smooth. We're still 18 to 20, we're at 20 right now. This would be a hard one. It did it. I think it's the right length as well. I was expecting that one to be a hit. So at 20, 22, no problem. Another big one we're expected to hit and didn't get it. Well, good job, GMC. This thing made it through all that, about 20 miles an hour the whole time. I would say it passes what an off-roader should be able to do. All right, this truck has no drive modes besides your different four-wheel drive options, traction control, and dual haul mode. So we're just normal, just how you'd be driving down the street for the high-speed off-road. And yeah, let's get to it. Be a little bit muddy this time. Sorry for the media guys picking it up. Just under 20. Ooh, and I'm feeling pretty close to maxed out here at 18, 19. We'll see. Yeah. 20. It's handling 20 okay, but I did feel the bump stops there. Tires are at full pressure. I understand a lot of this stuff, but to keep things consistent, I like to run it at full pressure. So it's doing okay. I would give it a pass at 20 miles an hour. Whew. It's getting a little rough in some spots, but not terrible. So I think you're safe to put this on par with what I expect. I expect off-roaders to be in the 20 mile an hour range, and that is definitely where we are. Anyway, yeah, just how you'd normally be driving this thing. Let's see how it does. And for those of you new to the channel, for an off-roader, I expect roughly 20 miles an hour through this. A little bit slower right now, but keep those windshield wipers on. We're at 20 now. So far 20's been just fine. Maybe it's a good thing we don't have the exterior camera. Lots of water on here. $25. So I would say we averaged 22 to 23 through that. Pretty good for an off-roader. There's so much water this time around. I don't know why. It was kind of weird because I was out here last week at the Frontier. I guess it did rain a lot since then. I was trying to remember. I thought it rained before the Frontier. Anyway, it rained after the Frontier, so that's why there's puddles are all completely full out here now. Anyway, without those puddles, it could definitely go a lot faster. You know, you can see it spraying up. You shouldn't be driving through puddles like this. I know what's in them. I've driven through them over and over and over, unless someone has put something in them recently anyway. But you really shouldn't be driving through water like that. Just for this test on this known course, I'm okay doing it. But anyway, yeah, 22, 23 miles an hour. I bet without the water, we're up in the 25 mile an hour range. Not as good as the Colorado ZR2, but really not bad overall, and it's smoother than the Colorado ZR2 through all this. So the ZR2 can go faster, it doesn't bottom out, top out really hard at all, but in doing so it feels a little bit more stiff throughout the whole range, whereas this is pretty smooth, and then the bottom and top out it does so quite well, but it's smoother in the regular range, and then as you reach the limits, it stiffens up quite a bit to prevent the harsh bottom and top outs. And with the remote reservoirs on these and whatever, you can run this all day long and not have any problems. All right, high-speed off-road. We are in some drive mode. Let's try, I wonder what it says. There we go. Grass, mud, gravel. We'll do the off-road mode. We're in four-wheel drive auto, and yeah, we're just gonna hit it. So we're at 18, about 18, 19 through there, 20. It's pretty smooth so far, no bottoming out. Yeah, even over that. Here's a hard one. Nope, no problem there. 20, seems to be handling 20 just fine. Bump it up a little. There's a jump. Almost lost our mount on the back, we're still good. Yeah, I would say this thing is in the 23 range. Yeah, we're good. So I would mark that one as a 23 over the high-speed off-road section.
Finishing in last place, we have the 2021 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon EcoDiesel. It really just couldn't handle the high speed. It would top out pretty hard, bottom out pretty hard. It's not built for a desert runner. It is a low speed crawler. Next up, we have the 2020 Honda Ridgeline. It just lacks wheel travel. It is quite smooth with the independent suspension all around, but the limited wheel travel really keeps the speeds down with this one. And that brings us to a three-way tie between the 2020 Nissan Frontier Pro 4X, 2023 Nissan Frontier Pro 4X, and 2020 Ford Ranger FX4. All of these were actually pretty smooth across the board, with the Ranger being a little smoother, but topping out a little harsher than the Frontiers. Just missing the podium, we have the 2021 Ford Ranger Tremor. It performed a bit better than the Ford Ranger FX4, but it still wasn't quite as smooth as the next few up on the list. The 2023 Chevy Colorado Trail Boss takes the bronze medal. It is smoother than the ones below it. It's able to handle topping out and bottoming out really well. Just overall performed great. Coming in at number 2 is the 2023 Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. It is the smoothest over the rough terrain. It's just able to eat up the bumps so smoothly, so nice compared to the others. Even the one that outranks it, that was able to go faster, wasn't quite as smooth as this Tacoma. And taking the gold medal is the 2022 Chevy Colorado ZR2. Mostly because of how fast it could go over this. This is the fastest vehicle I've tested over our high-speed off-road course. It still was pretty smooth, but the topping out and bottoming out got a little stiff. It wasn't hard, there weren't hard banks, but it wasn't as smooth as the Tacoma was. And overall, it just performed really well. And like I said, with how fast it went over it, it definitely takes the number 1 spot. Thank you for watching part 1 of the Midsize Truck Off-Road Shootout series. Be sure to watch the other 2 parts. Hit subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications, give me a thumbs up if you liked it, give me a thumbs down if you didn't, and be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to see different, and other tests you would like to see. Thanks again, have a great day.